You ever have that feeling? You're doing everything you're supposed to with your money. You're saving, you're investing, you're chipping away at debt. But then you look at your accounts and it just feels like you're stuck in mud, barely moving an inch. It is so frustrating. So let's get into it. Let's talk about this feeling and figure out what's really happening on this long journey to building wealth.
This is the big question, right? You've got the good habits down, but those big, exciting wins you had at the beginning, like paying off a credit card, they're gone. And now progress just feels quiet, almost invisible. If that sounds like you, I promise you're not alone. This is actually a totally normal, even predictable part of the whole process.
Okay, so before we can figure out if we're making progress, we need a good way to measure it. And that's where net worth comes in. The best way to think about it is like a financial compass. It tells you exactly where you stand right now, and more importantly, which direction you're headed.
Now, let's be super clear. Your net worth is not your income. It's not about how much money you make. It's the absolute bottom line number of your entire financial life. It's what would be left in your pocket if you sold everything you own and paid off every single one of your debts. That's the real number.
And figuring it out is actually pretty simple. First, you just add up all of your assets. That's the value of your house, your 401k, your brokerage accounts, the cash you have in the bank, even what your car is worth. Then you add up everything you owe. That's your mortgage, your car loan, student debt, credit cards. You subtract that second number from the first, and boom, that's your net worth.
So once you have your number, you're probably wondering, okay, how do I compare? But you have to be really careful here. You'll see headlines saying the mean or average net worth in the US is almost 750 grand. But that number is totally thrown off by the handful of billionaires at the top. The number you really want to look at is the median, the person exactly in the middle. And that's a much more down-to-earth $121,700. So yeah, focus on the median. It's a way more realistic benchmark.
All right, now we know what we're measuring. So let's pull out the map and look at what a typical financial journey looks like. Thanks to data from the Federal Reserve, we can actually see how net worth tends to grow through the different stages of our lives. And remember, this is not a race, but it's a super useful guide to see if you're on a familiar path.
As you can see, things start out pretty slow. If you're under 35, the median net worth is just shy of $14,000. You're dealing with student loans, you're just starting your career. But then it starts to take off. Between 35 and 44, it jumps all the way to over $91,000 as careers take hold and people start buying homes. And it just keeps climbing through your peak earning years, especially as that mortgage gets paid down and your investments have had time to do their thing. It usually hits its highest point right around when you retire.
And if you want to know the single biggest factor in all that data, here it is: home ownership. The median net worth for homeowners is $250,000. For renters, it's just $6,300. That difference is just staggering, and it shows you the incredible power of owning an asset that grows in value, like a house.
Okay, so we've seen the numbers, we've looked at the map, but none of that really explains why it feels so agonizingly slow sometimes. So let's shift gears. Let's move away from the objective data and talk about the subjective experience. Because honestly, a huge part of this is all in our heads. Think about it like this. Early on in your journey, your progress is loud. When you finally kill off a high-interest credit card, you feel this instant wave of relief. You can literally feel the hundreds of dollars that stop flowing out of your bank account. It's a massive, emotional win. But later progress? It's quiet. Putting another few $1,000s into your retirement account? Well, it just doesn't give you that same dopamine hit. It's about building momentum, and the reward for that is way, way down the road.
And this quote just nails it perfectly. When the fireworks stop, the mind starts asking whether the system is still working. After all those early, exciting wins, things just settle down. You're still doing all the right things, but the immediate positive feedback is gone. And your brain, which is wired for those quick rewards, it starts to get anxious. It starts to wonder if this whole thing is even working anymore. And this is where it gets really dangerous. In this quiet phase, we start to mistake stability for being stuck. That doubt starts creeping in. And because we want to feel like we're making progress again, we get tempted to chase a short-term reward. A brand new car, a big home renovation. We end up trading real, long-term momentum for a quick, feel-good moment. And a lot of times, we sabotage ourselves without even knowing it.
So, the big question is, how do we get through this quiet, tricky phase and keep building that real momentum? Well, there's a clear strategy for it. Let's lay out the path forward.
The key is to just stick to the basics. First, get rid of that loud friction. Knock out all that high-interest debt.
Then you focus entirely on the quiet momentum builders, just consistently, automatically investing in things that grow over time, like stocks and real estate. Of course, all this happens while you keep your expenses in check and maybe find ways to earn a little more. But that last step, that's the hardest, and it's the most important one. Just be patient. Let the magic of compounding do its work.
This really all comes down to a crucial mindset shift. You have to stop checking your accounts every single day looking for fireworks. That's not where you'll see it. The real signal, the real progress, shows up over much longer time horizons. So you've got to zoom out. Ask yourself, am I in a better financial spot now than I was a year ago or 3 years ago? When you start looking at the trajectory instead of the daily noise, the progress becomes so much easier to see.
So I want to leave you with this one last question to think about. Are you actually stuck, or are you just stabilized? Because if your bills are getting paid, your debts are managed, and you're consistently saving and investing month after month, you're probably not stuck at all. You're stabilized. And I know stabilization doesn't feel exciting, but it's the solid foundation that all future growth is built on. It's not the end of your progress, it's the quiet, powerful beginning of it.